follow word by word, any instruction at all, because that's the only way you're going to be able to do things faster. If you feel like, oh, I'm not going to read this instruction, I will go ahead and try to do it the way that I know, you will end up spending twice the amount of time, is because you'll probably make mistakes and get stuck somewhere, and then you'll have to come back and read anyway. So try to do that. And this is for work. This is a tips for work if you get an opportunity. The other thing, sometime I like to make this announcement, is that today we had one of our previous um, student. He came back because he had a new interview set up. Even right now he's working, but he just wanted to make a change. And today he got another offer. And it's a Canadian-based company, and he's going to be working from home and making at least $10 more on his hourly rate, and so on. So we helped him out. He'll probably get an offer. There is another person got a job last week, and he's changing from government job to private sector. Obviously, government doesn't pay too much, but also government doesn't have a lot of work. So he would be bored, not getting enough work. And it's not even about being bored. It's just that he doesn't have a lot of work, therefore he doesn't learn a lot. So I did suggest him like a couple of months back, try to, at least being young, at least try to stay within private. And then once you feel like you're ready to retire, just get a government job, and that'll be good. So he also made a switch. And this week, I think next week or something, he's gonna start. But we pretty much, like, when you come back after getting a job, you will also get help, advice or anything. Sometimes we don't even we don't even ask for nothing. We're happy that you came back and we want to help you. So just keep that in mind. As long as you guys are pretty much keeping up and being able to do the class, no matter how much you learned, at least we're confident that you'll learn something from each class, and at the end it's all going to fall in places, and we will be able to help you with the job. Okay, so right here, click on new project. That's the first thing, right, that we see when you open up. These are your older projects, for example. You can actually remove them if you no longer need these projects. And oh, I clicked on one. 1 second. So I will go ahead and start from again, because all right, there you go. I don't want to click on it. So I'll click on new project first. And again, this is Maven. The question here that you guys want to ask is that, wait a minute, Cucumber, and then why do you have a Maven as a role? Why do we even use Maven even for a Cucumber PDD project? And number one reason is because Maven has nothing to do with Cucumber. Maven is something to do with being able to manage the dependency that we need, because anytime you create a framework, the chances are you will be adding more than just one thing to make something happen, right? To make a framework, at least for automation. So for assertion, you have something. For manipulating browser, you have something. For dealing with, let's say, PDF, you have something. So anytime you get a library, we call them library. How many people know what library looks like in code? Okay, so maybe I'll start off by giving you guys visual representation. Okay, sorry. So this is from the last class. Again, step definition guard. So we'll come back to this in a minute. So when I say library, right, what that means is, it simply means that it is a folder, right? Think about a folder. Inside of the folder, there are many small files, so bigger files, whatever. So think like these are different files. It each have name. So each one is a class, and they have names that you can use, right? Now, inside of each class, there is something called method, okay? Method is method, okay. Method, and another name for the method for anybody that came to Java new is that it's function. What is function? Function is something that it does something independently for you. It can do something for you, right? So now, instead of you writing code for everything, for example, reinventing the wheel, right? Like, let's say you're a car manufacturer, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just have to know how to make a tire and how to make the rims, right? So these functions does very specific thing, right? And so let's talk about Selenium library. So think about this as a Selenium library, and I'll give it a name. Because when you say Selenium WebDriver, you may think, oh, this is a this might be a let's say this might be a tool and things like that. No, it's coming in as a folder somewhere in your project, right? These folders have files. The files are called classes and interfaces, depending on what kind of language you're using this WebDriver with. Selenium can be used with other languages also, but with Java, you get the classes, and based on the classes, each classes have method functions that basically do something for you. So let's say you want to click on a link. You will then use a method called .click, right? So you'll basically write this. So you'll basically use click method, right? And anytime you see parentheses left or right, something like this, just know one thing is that this is a method because it's closer, not like this. It cannot have a space. A method, if you're calling it, you cannot call method name with a space like this, okay? So it has to be together. And the second thing is that this method may or may not take parameters. Anything goes inside here is param, right? So you're saying this function, you're telling this function to do something for you, but then you can also specify what do you want to do. So for example, click, you can say, I want to click by x-axis, y-axis. So you can actually provide exact location where you want to click, right? Or you can have the element locator, which happens prior to that, right? And that will do the work for you. Anytime you see method or function, you will see in programming, majority of the programming language, you'll see they come with something like this, okay? Always. This can take parameters. So the other one I'll show you, which actually takes parameter, which is the action method, for example, dot send keys. You guys probably already know this, right? And this method, these are the method came from Selenium, right? And it's inside of some of this folder file, whatever. We just call the name and it works for us, right? And here it takes a parameter, but it takes a string. So whatever you type here, it will type it for you. This name, there may be 1 page worth of code behind this name. There may be 2 page worth of code. We don't know, but it does something. What it does, it basically types some information into wherever you specify. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this is like a string, whatever, right? So just have a visual representation of the library. Now, these libraries are online with different versions. So this Selenium WebDriver, right now we're at 4 point something. Many companies that I speak to recently, they're still using 3.1. Now, these libraries, you need to be able to manage them, right? So if you happen to create a framework, you need to make sure that these libraries are kept in track to make sure that you have the right version, your coworker has the right version. So suppose you got the WebDriver 4.1 and you're writing your test and you're happy, everything is good, but your coworker have the same code base, but he has 3.1. So there will be some differences, right? And now for him, it's gonna pass. For you, it may not pass, or it vice versa, right? In order to manage this kind of issues, you have Maven to come in and say, wait a minute, let me handle the versions of the dependencies that you need. It could be Selenium WebDriver, it could be anything that you need, right? Now in Java, if you go to Maven repository, repo, there about anything you need is there, almost anything. Like let's say you want to create fake data, right? There is a library for that, right? It's like there is an app for that, similar situation here. Think like these are apps that we can install in our phone and we can do some things with it, right? So now fake data, why do you need it? Sometimes you want to generate, let's say, first name, last name, and things like that for your test case, and you may want to use fake data that looks realistic. You can use the library that will automatically do those things for you, and it will be different every time. Social security number, date of birth, all of that will be generated for you automatically through this library. What do you, let's say you need to read contract, meaning you want to do validation of PDF, so you can say PDF reader, right? And there is a library for that. There is not just a single library. There is a lot of libraries that you can actually take and simply take a version that you want and add it to your project. And now you have to learn the methods that this library offers in order to make the full use of this library. Okay, so just know that what it is happening here, because you are creating a framework. So this basic knowledge needs to be there to begin with. Okay, so let's go into the next one. The next is when you go to Maven, click next, you are then, you specifically came to this location for real work. You may want to put other things like group ID and things like that. That could be like, let's say you work with auto Geico or something, and then there is an auto group, there is a umbrella loan, umbrella protection group, there is a RV motorcycle, right? Many things. So you can actually provide a specific group for a specific team if you need to. But to start off basic, you can just go ahead and type the name of the framework. So the framework should be, the name should be always relevant to the kind of framework you have and for what project. So let's make believe we work for a company for, let's say, auto insurance is the name of the company. So you're just gonna say, so AI is the name, like initials of the company, right? Auto insurance. And so you're gonna say AI, something like this, automation framework, BDD. So you're just naming the way you want. You can even take out the initial because everybody knows what company is there. So just say automation framework BDD. BDD implies that you're using Cucumber. You can even simply say Cucumber, but I would prefer like at the end, just use BDD. So everybody knows this is the framework name, right? Click on finish. And the first thing that you will see is that it will bring you to pom.xml. And many of you guys will probably, let me just make this smaller. This is my previous setting. So, all right. So now when you come to pom.xml, this is empty, almost empty, right? It doesn't have a lot of things, but if you create a Maven project, you will almost guaranteed to see this, okay? And when you land here to begin with is because IntelliJ knows that in order for you to create the framework and be able to make the most out of this framework, you have to add the libraries that you need, okay? So since we're implementing BDD and Cucumber for our framework, and since we want to automate our tests through UI, we need some libraries. So one of the library that we talked about is that, I believe this, and this is one way for you to, this is a comment, I'm writing a single line comment for now. And that's it, this is a comment, sorry. And I'm just gonna list out things that we will need to go and grab, right? So I'm gonna say list of libraries we need to add, right? So it's like you're going on a shopping. Before you create your dish, you need to add things that will make the dish, right? What it is. So if you're making, let's say, soup, you need to add, salt, you need to add broth and whatever else you would like to put, vegetables maybe. So these, each individual thing, think like they're libraries. and then you putting all of them together. At the end, you have a single item, which is soup. So same thing, we're going to bundle too many things. We're going to bundle many things together in order to make sure that our framework works as a whole. And each individual item has their own job. For example, soup, if you put chicken in there, then it has, at least now you added protein to your soup, and it has a distinct flavor. It adds to the flavor. It doesn't just change everything, right? It doesn't override anything. It works with everything else. So same thing, when we create the framework, we will make sure that this libraries is going to work with everything else here. I cannot add a Python library here. I cannot add any other, languages, because this can be only Java-based library. So it will be safe for you to go into Maven repository and say, I can grab anything and it should work, and it probably will work from the Maven repository. So there is so many libraries with a different category that you can see. Let's say you're dealing with test data and you need something to read and write from a CSV. CSV and Excel, think they are same. So if you want to read from Excel sheet, this is the one that you want to grab, right? There's another one called POI. That's the one that I use, or at least we will be using later, to read and write data from Excel sheet. And why do we do that? It is because username, password, and things like that, we don't want to keep it in our framework. We want to keep it outside so we can replace them as needed. Okay, that's also for maintainability, to make sure that our framework is maintainable. There is a lot more to learn, but let's at least pass the basic. Okay. Okay, so let's start grabbing our libraries. The first one, again, number one is, and I'm going to ask you guys these questions, right? Number one is Selenium. And why do we need Selenium? What does Selenium do?
It helps us to control the browser.
That's it. You tell the browser exactly what needs to be done, it does it for you. And that's it. Then we need Cucumber, I believe, Cucumber core. So there are more than just one thing. And then I believe Cukes. How do I know all that? Is because when I type Cucumber here, it will tell me, right? Let me just bring it up. So we need to add BDD Cucumber, right? And then so we got the Cucumber JUnit, Cucumber Java. So if I simply take this, it'll still work, right? But then the core and JUnit, so let's say assertions, for any reason you want to use Cucumber by Cucumber itself for assertion, you can. So we'll see if we really need it, but we'll start off with the Cucumber, and when we need something, we'll add it again. But at least we need the Cucumber core because it identifies the steps that we'll be writing. So we need at least the Cucumber Java and Cucumber core to begin with. Okay, and this is the first one is Java, Cucumber core, and then Cucumber JUnit. All right, what else do we need? We can even add regular JUnit. Nothing, it doesn't hurt. JUnit is actually comes with Java JDK by itself. And the built-in JUnit, I don't know much difference between it, but I usually always add them because built-in one doesn't have a lot of, it doesn't work as well as the external library. So we'll be adding that also. In the past, I just didn't have a good luck with the built-in that comes with Java. Similar to that, what else? We can choose to add. So for example, let's say you work for a company like Chase, and you work in the loan underwriting company, underwriting department. And every time they underwrite a loan, they generate a lot of PDF files as contracts, right? And I'm talking about hundreds, if not, a couple of hundreds worth of pages. And somebody manually testing them, like reading one at a time to make sure that the right logo is appearing in the right places, signature goes into the right places, and the verbiage, the text is coming as exactly the way that the legal team is prescribing, right? So each company has legal team, by the way. You guys will work with them also. They will come and tell you like exactly how the text should be in the web page. If it's financial company, it will be like, for example, this information, where it should be, how it should be, even like contact us and other things, they will decide what the text should be, right? So anytime you have question, you can go to the legal team and they will tell you like, okay, this is good, this is not good. What we do, we read what they give us and then we compare it with the website. We don't come up with like anything, but if we find spell error or grammar error, we will point that out to legal team and then they will update that. The severity of missing anything, like let's say you missed a bug where a specific text says like, for example, let's say down there, for this reason, you'll get this loan for free. And now millions of dollars has been lost because you forgot to read a specific line into the contract, right? People will sue, people will get the money, and then they can't even fight it because the contract says this, let's say whatever, this loan was for free or something. And this is just an example, but I'm just saying, if you do this kind of testing and now you're doing all of these, let's say 200 pages, let's say at all times, you're doing testing of those and you have to do every 2 weeks because that's when the sprint ends and you guys release. Every 2 weeks, you're doing 200 pages of testing. That's like a job by itself. So you should be dedicated toward only that job, or you can automate it and it'll be like half an hour, right? So you can make your life easy by automation. And you can, if you want to automate that PDF document validation, you have to add the PDF reader, right? And PDF reader will then, and there's more than just one, so we just have to get the right one. I think it's this one that we can use probably at some point. But what you are doing is that you getting a library that will be able to read the PDF document. Selenium doesn't know, right? The reason for you need to add a new library is because Selenium doesn't know how to test PDF by itself, right? PDF file do not have a locator. So think about that way, right? You open up a PDF, you go into that tab on your browser through Selenium, and now Selenium's saying, what is this? It doesn't know anything. It's like you just drop Selenium into a pool and it doesn't know how to get up. So in that case, you get PDF reader, and I'm going to just give it a name. PDF reader, what it does is that it grabs all the text or raw content, right? Or all images, right? Or assets, whatever, right? And you can specify what you want to grab. And then you take this information, you put it into a nice readable, variable, and then you go into the variable and say, if this variable contains this, that means this pass, and if it doesn't contain, it fails. So this is just a slight touch on how you will add a library and what and why would you add a library, and it's depending on your need, right? It's not because I'm telling you these are the libraries you need to add, it's because whatever we need for the project you'll be adding in order to make your life easy. Now if you tell me, without the PDF reader, can you still do the PDF testing? Yes, I can. I can write code for it, but that'll be tons and tons of code I have to write. Or I can just download this guy and it does most of the work for me. So think about that way. We're not there to just invent something new. We're there to test it. So whatever we can get as help through this library, we will get. So if I end up creating the library by myself, I will not do as good as the people who created this, right? And top of that, I would probably spend too much time on just creating. Plus, it might not be as good as that, right? So that's why we don't reinvent a wheel. Okay. Now let's start adding, since all this, I hope this clarifies why the libraries and how, why we even add this. So let's do Cucumber first, and Selenium will do last, I guess, since this is more Cucumber related. Now there is a problem with different version of Cucumber. For example, let's say Selenium you're using 3.1, and now for some reason Cucumber is not compatible with Selenium 4.1 or 3.1, whatever is the case, we're going to have a problem. So you see RC1 right here. This is from here, they're still doing maybe like some beta testing or whatever, but I will look at the usage and see what is the highly used version, and I'll just take that to begin with, right? So every time they push a new version, obviously they have tons of improvement added, but at the same time, there will be some bugs, right? And we don't want to deal with those. And this is true for WorkWise too. You don't just go and grab the latest because you don't know what you are about to face, you know? So it's better to get something that everybody else seems to be more comfortable. So 6.9.1 is the highly used number, so I'll take that. Okay, so now immediately there is some things going on here. Remember, like this is the opening of the project and this is the closing, so everything should be inside. This is a property opening and closing already done. Version open and close already done. Group ID, same thing, right? Now dependency open and close, but then we're gonna add more than one dependency. So we need to add dependencies tag, right? Oh, not that. So we need to add the dependencies tag, and under that we can add this guy. And for Windows, the shortcut is command and your Windows key and then L, right? If you do that, everything becomes nicer in terms of formatting. Immediately, you'll notice that this M load Maven shows up in order to load this dependency. Right now, it's not loaded, it's not downloaded, right? So it knows where to download from, it just don't have that, right? As soon as I click on this, it'll download it and put it in here so we can use. Now, if you say, okay, what if we don't use Maven? Then yeah, then you will have to pretty much add this library. You'll have to first download it, unzip it, right? And then you'll have to go into preference and you'll have to go into your, not the preference, I think project setting. Okay. About IntelliJ. Okay, let's see, file. Okay, project structure. And you will have to add the libraries from here, right? You'll have to drop it here. The problem is, again, your coworker doesn't know what version you have. That's the problem because you're adding it locally, okay? And you're not gonna push this thing to external libraries folder, will not be pushed to any sort of, you know, version control tool like GitHub or anything or share drive, because there is no need for it. So your coworker, when he gets the code from you, he can choose any version until, you know, because you didn't specify. So since you're using Maven, he can easily come to pom.xml and say, oh, this is the version he's using. And then just go ahead and simply click here and it'll automatically download for him, right? So that's the reason. The next one is, okay, where is it? We gotta go back. Java, okay, Cucumber JUnit. I will not take that for now. If we need it, we'll just edit. I'll just add the core. So 6.9.1, that's the exact version you want. So anything Cucumber, you want to make sure that that matches with the version, okay? So otherwise you're gonna see unexpected result and may have to do some extra work for no reason. Okay, so we got the same, and the next thing is just Selenium. By the way, one of my students' company recently, so he came over to get help, and they were using Cucumber and TestNG at the same time, right? And I was telling him this is a big no-no, right? Because I don't know, there is no need for you to use both because they have very similar properties, right? They are like competitor at this point. So that made his life a little bit harder in terms of updating and writing new tests. But at the end, we spent some time, figure it out, and he's now good to go, right? Pretty much the company that he's working decided to get rid of the person who originally created the framework. Not get rid of, I would say he probably got another job and leaving. So the company, his manager asked him to take over, and he was given like 1 week before the guy leaves. So the guy didn't give him too much information, just say, okay, here is the link. He downloaded it, he came here, and I said, okay, what did the guy give you? And he's like, really nothing. Then we have to figure it out. We realize he's missing a lot of libraries is because he probably downloaded them locally just to save some time or whatever. And he didn't put it in here. So we have to find what we're missing and add them. And then he was good. But that's just to say, as an example, when you join a company, you don't know what you will face with. But we just have to go with the flow and try to make the best out of whatever situation we get in. All right, so 4.1, let's see if I can get the similar version. Okay, so I'll get highest again, highest file usage just to be safe. And the practice that you want to follow too. Just because the latest you are going to suffer, right? So, okay, so 3 libraries just to make your life more easy. And I'm gonna click on that thing and let's see if it downloads everything. So it's downloading in the background right now. And I will move it up right here. You see it's importing everything. That means it is going and downloading all these files and folders that has the functions that we need, right? So we will talk about those. For Cucumber is different. So I'm going to go into test file, and here I can create a package if I need to. I can create whatever I want. So I can say here, let's say I'm going to create a feature package, right? Features, FEATURES. Last time we created like resources, whatever. So now we got the package called features. You can probably give whatever name you want. Right click, and I will say, I want not a Java. I can say subset feature, but that is not what we want. We want a feature, so we'll create that manually first. There should be another option for just a feature. So now, if I go ahead and, one second. If I go ahead and click on the file, right? So this is what we want to do. We want to create a file that has a extension called feature. So I'm going to say something like first test, for example, and this doesn't have to be, oh, the first letter should be uppercase, lowercase. It doesn't really care. So I'm going to say first underscore test, something like this. You can name it first T is test, something like that. And then you have to say FEATURE feature. Once you do that, and you see this Cucumber logo right here, this is the latest logo, I believe. That means your Cucumber setup was good, right? We don't know about Selenium yet, but Cucumber setup was good. At this point, if you have any other file other than this, and you followed exactly what I am telling you, then we have a problem. Just get rid of the extra file, whatever you see. Sometimes it just, I don't know, sometimes it changes the project to a class file, interface actually, and with that. So now let's see if Cucumber works. Cucumber does have keywords that we use for us to describe a test. A feature itself, and may sound very much repetitive because I'm saying feature a lot. Okay, what does feature mean to you? Okay, feature is a keyword. So there are a lot of keywords that Cucumber provides in order for you to label your tests, in order for you to organize your tests. Remember, TestNG was to organize your test, create a report, and other things similar to that. Now, my question to you, what is feature means to you?
Like characteristics.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah. I think whenever we look any website, for example, we are going to login site, and there is a 1, 2, 3 scenario, login, password. Full thing is called a feature. Is that right?
Let's go to a website. Okay.
Feature is like a, I think, standalone unit, which you mentioned, like a functionality of the project. I don't know, could be wrong.
Yeah, so think about feature is like, let's say, if I come to JetBlue and I'm the first time customer and I see, wow, there is a $44 one way and it has a ends in number, like hours and minutes, this is a feature, right? So just landing here, seeing this it could be a feature. The other feature could be somebody, and this is a very simple feature. You just come in here and you see this, right? This thing. Then maybe somebody clicks on the booking, and now flight could be by itself. It's a feature. So if you click on flight, now you can do various things aside from just searching. So here you can do round trip, you can do one way, you can do multi-trip, you can do adults and things like that. So these are basically feature of this application, right? So feature means in your mind, it should be like a user story or requirement, things like that. Now in Cucumber, we call them feature to describe the test in, or this describe the requirement in user point of view, right? So when a BA writes the requirement, they will write in feature because you're using Cucumber for your automation. So they will say something like, so let's say this thing right here has not been developed yet, right? But they want this thing, right? So I'm just gonna say and I'm gonna write something that way it has a objective, right? So the feature in this file, there is some keywords. So the first word is feature, things like it's just the introduction, right? You're basically describing the feature as a whole, right? The whole thing. And now this feature can have multiple scenario. So one customer coming in and they look at these hours and they click on save now. The other one doesn't want to click nothing. They just hovering, that's 2 scenario. The other customer actually clicking on the hours, that's 3 scenario. And there is another customer, click on save now. And oh, it's not even working. Okay. No, it is working. Okay. So click on save now, and they landed in this page. And now they're clicking it again. That's 3 scenario. Now the 3rd scenario is failing here. Why? The 3rd scenario, at least in my view, is failing. Whoever tested this probably didn't do a very good job. But the 3rd scenario is like the first, I'm on the landing page. This is the landing flight page. Okay. From any page. So any page, if I click on save now, I should be in this 22 big spring sale page, right? From any page that I am in. So this feature has scenario, number 1 scenario, I start with landing page, I click on it, I'm here. Okay. Number 2, I go into the flights and I see this thing, I click on it, I'm here. Okay. The 2nd scenario. 3rd scenario, I click on manage trip and I see this. I don't see this. That's a negative scenario. I shouldn't see this here. Okay. So similar to that, you're going to find the tabs and whatever, every possible options that you can find. You want to do positive and negative. You want to know where this will show and you want to know where this will not show. Now, once I click on save now, and I click on this and it takes me to this page, there is no need for you to have this link displaying because you're already in the link, right? It doesn't do anything. If I click on it, it doesn't do nothing at all. So there should be like some sort of messaging saying you're already here, or it should not even display this link. This is a suggestion from a QA that you can provide to your team and say, hey, we're already in the link, the sales link. They are still seeing this. Do they need to see this? They probably need to see this, just this, because it's already in the page. So maybe like show it better way here in a bigger, font and make it look like this is the page, because the first time I click on it, I'm like, oh, I'm in the wrong page or something. So that's why if they want to make it more easy for the customer that confused, then they will probably go ahead and do it this way. But anyway, so this is like I am describing as a bug. It may not be a bug. They will say this is a very low priority. We don't care. We don't want to do nothing with it. But thanks for the suggestion. But you say, okay, you're all come done, and you move on. So now I'm going to describe the feature. Okay, this specific feature is that as a JetBlue, and everything is done from user point of view. So that's what I will be doing here. Customer, I would like to see countdown on the sales for spring. I don't know if it's spring sales, I believe. Sales for spring. in order to find any details, right? Something like that. This is like, guys, remember, this is, I'm just writing it. You can write whatever you want. This feature will be described by your BA. So if they don't do it, then you'll probably have to do it, right? So I'm just describing the whole thing. This is not a specific scenario. This is just the whole thing. The purpose here is that spring break is coming. This page is going to show different deals. And no matter where they are, if they do see this banner and they click on it, they should be landing in this page. That's the whole intention of this whole feature. Now you have to write scenarios because we have to test. We cannot just say, okay, it's working. I see it, it's working. No, we have to write the scenario. First scenario is that verify that user clicks. One second, clicking from, okay, my machine is too slow. One second, I'm gonna have to get rid of some things from my computer to make it faster. Maybe this, okay. I don't need that. I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay. I don't need the terminal. Okay. I'm just gonna close some of these things. Okay, good. I probably closed the JetBlue also. Okay. You gotta go back to that 1 second. All right, so I hope you guys understood the requirement or the feature of this application, right? So we're gonna start writing. The first one is if I'm clicking as a user, from where, right? So from, this is called landing page, okay? When you land directly in here, this is a landing page. As a QA, we really don't do landing page testing. We don't do much landing page testing because every company that I've noticed so far, they outsource the landing page. They don't do it themselves because somehow other companies do better, right? So some companies, they have their own design already pre-designed, nicely done, and they use those pre-designed elements. So this area, that area, this and everything, and they puzzle together and make it a very nice website for cheap. And I'm talking about real cheap, instead of your company figuring it out how to create this more, nicely. So it's always outsourced, and they do testing part of the whole deal pretty much. So we really didn't do any landing page testing, but we do test these things. You click on flight and this thing shows up. This is not landing page. This is actually part of the feature. Okay, so now this is one scenario, and I'm going to write, in the interest of saving a lot of time, I'm not going to write all of the scenario that I can think of, but there is a lot of scenario. You guys all think already, right? So scenario number 2, verify that user clicking the sales link from, let's say, in this case, flight will take them to that page, right? Will take them to sales page, right? So that's another one. And landing page. Okay, that's that. And then we also have to test how the feature looks like, right? So if I go into this one, I want to see hours, 7 minutes, or whatever. I want to see hours, minutes, seconds, and I want to make sure that I compare with the design. I want to see this text and all that stuff. Okay, so instead of writing a whole new scenario, I will just add it to one of my tests, because as an automation person, we can combine more than one test case. We don't have to do it the way manual testers do. That's to save time. Okay, so for saving us time right now, we just created 2 scenarios, but just keep in mind that a lot more scenarios we can create. Okay, now the first thing is, notice all these keywords in orange, okay? And I want you to recognize them. Okay, so these keywords, see how it's nicely, like, somehow it's not red, somehow, Java is not being invasive about saying this is wrong and that is wrong. is because these keywords are being recognized by these file format, which is feature, because Cucumber is already in our external library. Okay. And how did we get that? We just went to POM, we install everything that we need. Okay. So far, so good. Anybody needs a few minutes break?
No, we're okay.
Okay. All right. So now given when and then, so we got that. These keywords has its purpose. Okay. But you can use when keyword for all of it if you want to. It doesn't change the code. The code you're writing has a purpose, but this keywords is for making your test more readable, because you are writing in plain English. That's what we're going to be doing. So given I am on the JetBlue, ooh, 1 second. Blue, I try to type fast, but my computer is slow. So for some reason today, I am on the JetBlue home page or landing page, whatever you want to say. So that's where you are. So given we use for exactly where you are on the page. When is basically what does the user do, right? When user or I, you choose between I or user, the way you want to describe the task. So say when I click on the, let's say, save now link, save now link, then what happens, right? Then I should be on the Spring sales page, right? That's what should happen. Same thing for this one. We got given when and then. Okay, let's just wait for this to load. Okay, given I am on the like page. Oh, whoa, it's automatically typing. 1 second. Light page. When I click on the save now link, right? This should be same, right? Then the same thing. So here's the deal. Do you have to write these two definitions all over again? No, because they can be shared on both, because these two are similar, right? These two. So that's one of the benefit of Cucumber, is that now I know that these two code I don't have to rewrite. If I can write it for this one, then it will also work for this one, because they have the same exact name. Okay. And they should do the same exact thing, right? So to make it work. So the first thing first, if I'm on the JetBlue homepage, let's go ahead and write some step definition. The first time you create, you will have to type in, you'll basically go ahead and create a step definition folder where you'll keep your code. So to give us a boost or start with, at least for the learning purposes, you click on create step definition. If it doesn't have definition, it's going to be highlighted just like this, how it looks. You click on that light bulb, create, and now it's saying, do you want a file name my step definition? And then you want me to put it exactly right here. And I can say yes, or I can just create one myself. I don't have to listen to the preference of this IDE. IDE is here to help me, but I have to know what I'm doing, right? So in this case, let's go with what IDE is suggesting, and then we'll try to create our own later. So I chose the same exact name, my step def, right? And it automatically gave me a code snippet for that specific step right here. And now you'll see that this guy is no longer highlighted because this guy has a step definition. For Windows user, if you do Control B, and for the Mac user, if you do Command B, you will be able to land right into the code section of your step. And this is what we call step definition. And we can change the name of this to be definition if you want, but this is how Cucumber would like us to name them, right? Sorry, the IDE wants us to name it. So at this point, Command B, and I can land right into the code. Okay, so So it's pretty fluid. As you can see, these things right here, that means this IDE recognized exactly what kind of test you have, and it will be able to run it for you without having to do any configuration. But when you join a company, you simply cannot just run. There will be some configuration you need to do, and we'll talk about it. So first, let's get the basics again. First, something that we need to get is how do we even create some step definition. So now at this page, you're gonna see the method name already auto-generated for you based on this thing, right? Now, what if you wanna just simply run it, right? What if you simply wanna run this? If you actually run this, it will give you more suggestion, okay? So if I go ahead and run this, and it'll tell you some things. And it'll say, hey, you're missing some things, right? It's gonna say, hey, you're missing iClick save now link, okay? And that's what you're missing. So you can actually copy this. Also, go into here, and you can say, so this is your start, and this is your end. So you have to open up and create another one. And now, given is already imported, so you have to import when, import, and now you see the same, very much same. So you got two different flavor. One is that if you right click and create it, it creates it with a Java convention, which we should probably follow. And if you just dry run it, dry run meaning you don't have any steps or code, and you ran it, and it automatically gave you a suggestion in your, how do I say this, terminal or in your console, then you can take that and paste it. So I will actually not like that because I already have one convention to follow. Can give me 1 second, okay? Somebody's calling. Let's take a 2 minutes break. Oh, 8. We'll be back in 8:05. I'll pause it for now. What about some questions? Any questions so far?
Bhaiya, hello?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes, listening.
before we are moving to the next step, my step depths before it, last time you did the configuration, edit configuration for
Mhm.
run
Mhm.
as run,
Mhm.
but right now you didn't.
Yeah, so we're not gonna do that edit configuration yet until we face a problem, because remember, by default, this IDE is supposed to configure the run because we haven't specified any special instruction. So it should be working by default. But
Okay.
if it is,
I'm asking because last time I'm stuck here. Just this situation. That's why I'm asking.
No problem. Can you guys see my screen, or this is?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So just notice one thing is the naming of the method. Two different way we got it, right? One, we got it because we did a dry run, right? And one, we did it by clicking on the light bulb. So the clicking on the light bulb is actually more accurate to what we want. So I'm going to get rid of this thing for now, and then have it just clicking on the light bulb one at a time. So if I go back and you see that it's now is highlighted. So first thing first, we have to create a WebDriver. I'm going to put it outside WebDriver instance because why? Because I would like to use it for all of my step definition. So I'll do that. WebDriver is equal to driver, and that's it, done. And I declared it outside to say, okay, I'm going to have a variable name WebDriver, and the type is WebDriver, and I don't have a value for that yet. I'll let you know. That's what I'm saying. Here, I'll say driver is equal to something. Okay, so I'm going to say driver is equal to new Chrome driver, same thing. And we're doing Chrome a lot. We should probably also do Firefox at some point, but it's going to be very similar. Not a lot of difference. But I go ahead and have the Chrome driver. So at this point, I have no doubt that Selenium WebDriver is also working fine because it recognizes everything, right? No red, nothing is red so far, and we're good to go. Okay, so now the next thing that I will do is I'm gonna say to get to JetBlue, right? That's what we are automating today, right? So driver dot get, remember? And some of you guys had a question like, oh, you know, here we're directly putting URL, or we put URL somewhere else and call it here. You know, either way, it will be same thing, but you wanna I'll tell you the best practice is if you going to use that URL again and again, then you want to put it into a variable. Otherwise, you can just put it directly here. Anytime I said, remember, any method or function, anytime you see this thing, that means they take parameters or they don't take parameters. So in this case, I don't have to say what parameters I want because that works with or without. This one is requiring a parameter in this case, right? So you see it's red is because it's saying, hey, I need it. I'm required to have something from you in order to do something. So what it is required is saying that it needs a string, right? So if you do it like this, string URL is equal to JetBlue, whatever, or you can do directly here. So I'll put it outside because URL there is a reason for this because this URL will be used over and over again. So I'm gonna put it outside for now. String URL. I'm gonna give it a name, maybe base URL. Base URL is equal to something. Base URL means like you will, this is like a home page or something, right? So you know that you will have to go there again and again. And this is your base URL. So in this case, I don't have to specify that here. And maybe in the future, when we do more advanced class, we're going to show you this. This has to come from somewhere else. Like we'll put things separately to make it look more better, right? And not only better, but maintainable. Okay, so in this case, everything seems to be happy and healthy. And if we run it, it should run. But then we're going to see that familiar error message that if you guys remember, okay? So go ahead and run it real quick. And I'm going to go ahead also comment these two out. How do I comment everything at the same time? All you got to do, there's a shortcut. You highlight and you do Control/ or Command/ depending on what kind of machine you're using. I'm going to go ahead and run this real quick. Okay, so when I ran it, as you see that it's now saying, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but I am required to have a driver executable into some path, all right, in order to use the Chrome driver. It also gives you a link to read and understand what it is that you need and so on, right? So far so good, guys. It's quiet. So how come nobody's saying nothing about this? Because this is, we faced not once, but multiple times. Every single framework that we're dealing with, it keeps asking us for this thing, right? So how do we fix it? Who wants to help me? Anybody?
Yeah, system.set property. We need to write the system.set property.
Set property, and then it takes
Yes.
two parameter. One is a
Yeah,
string,
one
and
is within the
one is the value.
Yeah, one is the value, and another one is the WebDriver.driver, and
So this one right here.
yes, and another one is the path. I forgot the name.
All right. So the path you can put, here's the deal. You can put wherever you want. Your WebDriver can be anywhere. I don't have to put it here. I can put it in my desktop and use it. The only problem is the desktop has a unique path, and therefore your coworkers, if they take the same code and they want to run it, it will not run because they don't have the same exact path as you do. So I'm going to go ahead and download the Chrome driver. Who created Chrome driver and why? Anybody know? Why would Google do this extra work for you? This is like years worth of work, right? They had to create this Chrome driver. Why would they create it, you know, for free and you can download? Anybody? You want to
So
make
people
a
could
guess?
continue using Chrome for everything?
Yeah, so basically, let's say, you know, sometime when you go to a website and it says for the best experience, use Chrome, right? It's because the development team found Chrome was easy to test with because there is a Chrome driver they can use, and it makes everything easier. And so then they only test it in Chrome, therefore they will say for the best, experience, use Chrome only. And a lot of companies are doing that too. For the best experience, use Chrome or Firefox, because they tested on Firefox and Chrome. Nobody will say for the best experience, use IE, Internet Explorer, because it's dying and they really don't have a lot of support. And you'll quickly find out it is pretty hard to test with Internet Explorer, and you need to have a Windows machine specifically to test with Internet Explorer. So a lot of companies, and I'm talking about from experience, when they do IE testing, they sometimes end up like making a guess, saying, okay, yeah, it's probably going to work in IE too. Okay, leave it. There's this one company, big company, I will not name it. I found out recently, because I work for them, right? So, and the result and everything looks nice, everything is passing, sounds good and everything, but then it's actually not running in IE, because I'm looking at the code, I'm like, this cannot possibly run in IE. This result is not coming from IE, 100% guarantee. I told the manager, everybody seems to be shocked, like, what? It's not being in IE for the last couple of years? I'm like, yeah. I don't know when was the last change you guys did. Initially it did run, but it's not running. And they're like shocked, like, oh, okay. And then now they're saying, okay, we're not gonna support IE altogether. And they didn't let their clients know, right? Because their clients think, okay, it's tested in IE, it's tested in Chrome, Firefox, and all that stuff. But in reality, it's only being tested in Chrome, right? And we're just hoping for the best case, like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Two reasons. One is that the team is too small. And the second reason is that the other person who is working, he has an entry-level knowledge. He most likely have as much as one of you here. And so time to time, I ended up spending time on training, like, hey, put 4 hours in the calendar and we'll just sit down and try to get you up to speed. And it's obviously, the interest is mine here, is because if he's able to do the work, then I don't have to do all the work myself. But he's getting up to speed very slowly. Anyway, and he's been there before me, so he's been working already 2 years in the company, and whatever he can do at this point. So with that said, let's find the, okay. The real question that I ask, right, again, the Chrome, is because, again, any browser, anybody creating browser, any company that creates a browser, they will also have to do testing themselves too. For that purpose, they need a driver, even if they test their own browser. So they will create a driver initially for them. And then later they need to facilitate other companies who's trying to develop a software that will work in their browser. So they will have to give them these kind of tools, so that way they can easily test it. And Chrome has been doing that, Firefox has been doing that, and Internet Explorer is deprecated, meaning after 11, you will not find the next version. But Edge is doing that now. Edge do have very similar feel as Chrome, if you look at it now. So that's the main reason. This is being done and developed and handled through a team in Google, right? That's their job. They do this. And they, time to time, they will tell you there's bug, they fix it, and they put a new version. Whenever you use Chrome driver, make sure it is always the same version as your regular Chrome browser, right? So so my Chrome browser is 999.048. Therefore, my driver has to be the same. For me, is Mac, so I'll download that. And the notice is just opened and unzipped automatically in Mac. By the way, many testers nowadays, I'm talking about testers that have a lot of coding knowledge, they will in advance ask in the interview, can I get a Mac, right? Is because, and they will probably also not work for the company if they don't get a Mac, because it's just too, and I'm not saying Mac is superior, Windows is good too, it's just that makes Mac for testing makes it easier. So if you are a Windows user, some time use Mac to get used to, because some companies will make a choice to only use Mac, and Mac makes everything easier. So anyway, I'll go ahead and put this driver anywhere I can. But before that, I may just create a folder, because what if I do cross-browser testing, meaning I have another driver, which is maybe Firefox, then I can put it under the same folder. So what I will do, I'll do a folder here, new and directory, and I'll say drivers, right? So you can name whatever you want. You can even put your initials, but whatever you want, you can name it however you want it. This is just a folder, and I'll do refactor. It doesn't have to follow the same namings. You can change a few things if you want to. And now we have to put the path. So the easiest way, because you're using IntelliJ, you can just right click and you can say, I would like to copy path. Usually path from content to root is going to be the one that will work perfectly for you. For Windows, you may want to get the full path. If it doesn't work, the root, and this, right? And so for Mac users, just keep in mind that the first time you do this setup for a new framework, you have some security warnings that you have to go through, which happened last time that I was showing you guys. And I ended up spending too much time doing other things, trying to fix the issue. So now, as you can see, this thing showed up, okay? It says like Chrome driver cannot be opened because the developer cannot be verified. And this is, who is this saying that? This is not Google saying that, this is saying, this is done by Apple is saying, we don't recognize this, but we know this came from Google, so we're gonna be fine. So what I will do, I will then go into, I will not move it to trash, right? So I'll go ahead and go into my privacy, cancel this. And now automatically you see Chrome driver was blocked from use and this and that. So allow, that's the first time you have to do that. The second time you run again. And again, this is only for Mac users, this issue, right? The second time you just have to click open, and now you're all set. You're all set. There is no hoops and loops and fix this and fix that. You shouldn't see that. I want to apologize. Last time I confused everybody. Maybe I was tired by trying to fix the issue that doesn't exist. And so this time, just know that everything, the way that we did it, if you have a Mac, you should see the exact same way. If you have Windows, you should also see the same way. The only difference that you want to see in Windows is that you may have a different path, a different looking path. You may have .exe here, okay? And that's it. This is how this framework will work. Now, obviously, this is a framework that is very much basic. We can move things and make it more organized, and we'll do that. But if you ask me, let's say you join a company tomorrow and they don't have automation test, and you show them this, I can tell you this much, that they will be like, wow, this is great. Let's continue to do this, right? And there are companies out there, they still talk about, oh yeah, we'll do automation, we want to do automation, but we can't, our engineers are not trained and this and that. So you join a company and now you realize there's a bunch of testers who's been working in the company for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and they are familiar with ancient technology such as ViviScript, and they don't even know how to code. ViviScript, because you know how to ViviScript doesn't mean you don't know how to code. They don't know Java and things like that. And they are also afraid to learn something new because they're, working in the company for 7, 8 years. They don't want to learn anything new. So then you realize they know a lot about the company. They know about the product. They know how to test it, but they just don't know how to code. They don't know how to use the tool. And some of you guys will face this type of thing. Some of you guys will be hired as an expert in automation. Your job is to go and bring automation into the team. And you may also carry out some trainings. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You don't have to train the day one. You can say, let me get comfortable, let me start to write some tests, and I'll give you guys training when I'm ready. So you will have the first 6 months if you drive that kind of initiatives. And not everybody's gonna go through the same what I'm describing, and very few of you here will have this situation where you'll be comfortable enough to take that kind of job, right? And I'll also give you suggestions that, okay, this is something that you should take, or this is something that you shouldn't take, okay? yeah, that's pretty much like if you now from here, I can go and use this framework for a company, you'll be totally fine with it. They will now, if this company happen to have developers who's also helping you writing this framework, then they will say, wait a minute, this driver shouldn't be here. Let's bring it up and put it in somewhere that where it belongs. So now they will create a new directory and say drivers, and then they will move this over to the drivers, and we'll do this type of things. And then they will want to follow page object pattern that we saw, inheritance and other things, and they want to introduce those also. So that's why Java knowledge is necessary, and we'll do that also. But just remember, if you're using Cucumber, if you're using IntelliJ, there is some shortcut. You can investigate the line. This line, what it should do, you can say Command B, and it will take you to the code directly. Let me see, click on that, boom, and it takes me to the code, Command B right there, and it tells me exactly what it is doing. Okay. The next line, I'm gonna go ahead and develop next line. The first line is done, right? Does it go to JetBlue? Yes, it does. Now, because these steps are individual steps, right? I can literally copy this step and create a new scenario. So let's say I work for this company, and they want me to write a new scenario. So I can just say scenario and verify something else, for example, whatever it is, and then given. And now these steps will also work here. I can actually run it and it will go ahead and run for me. So this step, at least it'll go up to that point. Okay, so as you can see, boom, and JetBlue is right there. Okay, and so that is something, right? That is something that you can use. If these steps you can use all for any other reasons, think about the amount of work that you just saved. So let's say now you got an assignment, can you write a new test? And to verify this, you already know the first 3 lines, you can just copy and paste, and then the remaining you'll have to create. How do you create it? Okay, let's create another one to show you. And then go ahead and click create definition. Where do you want to put it? It tells you where do you want to put it. I'll put it in my step def. Boom, it is right here. Okay, so now I want to click on that link, but before I want to click on that link, I realize there is something, this thing here, cookie. We have to click on accept cookie, and it will show up every time, is because every time you open a browser, it is a brand new browser. Okay, and so the first thing, we have to click on this cookie and accept, so we can go in there. But there is a way to bypass this whole cookie situation, and that is on the driver setting level. We will probably not do it today, but we will use a link text. This is a link. How do I know this? How do I know this is a link? This looks like a button to me. How do I know this is a link?
There is
Technically, this is a link.
the A tag
Right there, exactly. Technically, it appears to be a button, but then technically it's a link because I can see the A tag. So I can actually, now Selenium will recognize this as a link because of the A tag. So I can use the link text to click on all, accept all cookies. And that should be the first step, because this is what, without removing this thing from the page, we're not gonna be able to click on that specific scenario. We will not be able to complete it. So the first thing first, I want to click on that link. So I want to say driver.find element. I want to say by dot. Oh, okay. Dot. Oh, okay. Sorry, it's typing. My computer has a slight delay because I have too many things open. A second. Get rid of that, and then dot. In this case, I can say link text, right? We learned this. I think we learned most of these locators, but somebody asked to revisit, and we'll do that. Like I said, I will go 20 times and explain the same thing again when it comes about automation. So there is no fear. There shouldn't be any fear. Oh, I can do this, so I'm gonna just avoid trying, right? Keep trying from your side, and if I need to go over this 2 more classes, 3 more classes until you get hired, I will continue to do this. And we're gonna have a badge toward the end of your class, and you can choose to continue to follow and maybe learn again from scratch. But that is after the class. Okay, let's see. So that, and then you want to do click, right? So the first thing we do that. The second thing we will basically click on that specific link, but I'm going to run it to see if that cookie thing goes away. Notice like how this line is now available, right? It's not highlighted because it has the definition. And notice this line is also the same. It's because they are same. I'm just using it in two different scenarios. So the reusability of code is crazy because now you got 3 level of reusability when you use Cucumber. Okay, not only a single level. And obviously, same thing can be done with other frameworks. Let me see. Let me bring up my drawing so we can draw that. Just bring you some visualization there. Auto draw. Okay. So the reusability, the purpose of BDD and why we go out and write something like this, the reusability is crazy because you got 3 different layers of reusability or 4 different layers of reusability. And I'm gonna type it here, Cucumber reusable steps, right? Reusable steps is another, right? We already know that in programming, we're able to reuse the, hold on a second, it doesn't. Reusable steps. And so first of all, we got the inheritance, right? I'm just gonna like give you a representation here. So this is your inheritance. We can reuse. That means you can actually write a small individual block of code. And this is, let's say, this is your test and you're writing a new test and this is your feature file or whatever, right? This is your test. And you can say, I want this block. You just call the name, okay? You just call the name and it will be there. You just call the name, it'll be there. You have another test, okay? Similar. And into this test, you just call this block again, right? So this is done through, let's say, in page object pattern, which uses the inheritance. And so basically Java inheritance, for example. And you guys probably know that already, but if not, let me explain. The second thing is that top of this, you have another level of reusability. Now I'm going to make that as a triangle. And that triangle represents Cucumber, which is this color. And now top of that, it goes in top, basically. So imagine this is in the top right here. Top of this inheritance, you're creating steps within this. And let's say each one of these are steps, step, 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 okay. Small, big, whatever. These steps contain these guys inside, right? So now when you test when you write your test, and let me erase some of this unnecessary stuff. Where is the eraser? I thought there was an eraser here. Okay, so now what's gonna happen is instead of like we writing test directly from here by reusing, we're saying, let me just make this red. We're saying these things, we don't have to go directly there. We inherit these things among our step definition, okay? Wherever we need, small amount of code blocks that does specific thing. And then this step definition goes into our test. And let me change the color to this. This is gonna be our test. And this is called feature. This is the feature file. This is your feature file. And now you call this little things right here to your one feature to make it work, these steps. And based on the order in which they still work for you, you can order it the way you want, whatever you need. And again, everything else. I hope this helped. This is pretty much TestNG, and this is like the initial framework that we created. And this is Cucumber. This is an extra layer compared to this one. But we have two levels of reusability. One is that we can mix and match these steps that we created, and we can use it however, wherever we want. And the other thing is we can still use Java inheritance and page object pattern to make our code more reusable. And therefore, writing a new test, chances are, if you already have written some tests, chances are 80% of the tests already done for you. You don't have to write that because it's already done. You just have to know which one of these you need to add it to your feature file. Okay, so I hope this visual representation gave you some idea how the feature files, how Cucumber is so significant and basically going to be making your life easy. All right, so the next thing is we have, I should be on this, right? But we didn't even finish. I'm gonna run this real quick, try to see where we are if the cookie goes away. And this is the thing with real, testing on a real application, is that they have things that we, we don't even know how to deal with yet. So I see what happened is now we're seeing some error. Probably our test ran too fast, right? So it says the Chrome driver, blah, blah, but let's see. It says that Selenium, no such element, unable to locate element, right? Link text selector cookie, whatever, right? So now it's because it didn't even wait for it, it just went crazy and done. So in this case, you can say, hey, wait for this guy, okay, wait for a link. So in Selenium, we have explicit and implicit wait that we talked about, right? So now let's say you join a company, you don't know what to do, this is not waiting, okay, so it's no problem. Selenium, wait for element before clicking. Okay, and now you have many search results around that. You just have to know how to use them. Is it legal to Google this? Yes. You're not copying somebody's code, you're getting ideas. So now memorizing these codes is not efficient because you can find it in Google anyway, right? So we shouldn't be memorizing. So now we have to use WebDriver wait. WebDriver wait is a class, is an interface, and that will allow us to use until, wait until. So we named it wait, and then we'll be able to use until for a condition to be visible. So now I'll take the code from here, okay, and that's why when you use it, you'll know exactly which code that you may need. So we see WebDriver driver.20, and you see it's red is because, and don't panic immediately once you see red, right? And it's because you need to be able to import the class. If you need to tell exactly where this WebDriver wait is, then this guy needs to be done the same way, import, okay? Selector, instead of CS selector, we're gonna say link text, and we are going to put this thing right here. The link text is accept all cookies. So we're gonna say just wait for this guy, okay, doing anything before doing anything, and it's gonna say 10 seconds. So it'll wait up to 10 seconds. Maybe we will 30 seconds. So that doesn't mean 30 seconds total. It just means that if it finds it after 1 second, then it'll be done. It will not wait 30 seconds, but it will wait up to 30 seconds, right? That's why we don't put sleep. Okay, thread.sleep is actually not good in a commercial automation test, or at least maintainable automation test, because now you don't for sure know how many minutes do you need, how many seconds do you need. So up and down by 1 second will fail your test. So that's why it's good to put maximum by putting a timeout. Okay, so any question here, what I just did? Everybody totally gets this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. I just want to see if these steps work for now. If not, then I'll have to see what it is, because sometimes these pop-up boxes are not really what they look like they are. And okay, and then this time it waited. Okay, let's see at least if it's clicking. If it's not clicking, then I'll have to probably use another ways to find it. And if it's also, if this pop-up is not part of the website, then it's also not going to recognize. So it's still waiting because remember we said 30 seconds. So it's going to wait 30 seconds before it complains, say, hey, I can't find it. In the meantime, I can probably look at it and see what the hell is going on here. Okay, so it complained, which is fine. I just want to see if this is a iframe or something, and that's what I suspected. It's an iframe. This is as comparable as a new tab, so it doesn't recognize because it's not the same page. Okay, so now I have to teach you guys something new. When you have a frame, this is like a page within a page. This is considered a separate page, and in order for you to click here, you have to move to this frame and then click, because look, this is the iframe, right? Now go to Selenium, and this thing, if I didn't know what iframe is, I would probably like lose my mind and give up and say I don't want to work as an automation guy because this is like, why is this not working? I did everything right. Yes, you can do everything right, and it'll still not work, is because iframe, we have to deal with it differently, right? So this is the interview questions also. How do you do iframes? How do you deal with iframes? So let's see. Selenium, and you can just probably put keywords, right? Selenium iframe, for example. All right, so now it says handling iframe. So I'll just click on the first link and see what kind of help that I'm getting. And it says, okay, how do you measure iframe? You can actually see how many iframe there is. You can switch to frames. So in this page, I only have one frame. So if I do index value, I'll be able to switch to that frame. And then I have to switch back, okay? Once I'm done with the iframe, I have to switch back. Otherwise, Selenium is not going to work on the rest of the page. Okay, so this is the way that we will have to deal with iframe. So you see, iframe does have a iframe ID and things like that that we can use to see iframe, and you will see frame ID of the element. And this is how it is. And then you can also maximize your browser if you need to. I'm not going to do that here because it will fill out the whole screen for me. All right, so the next thing is, I don't know if it makes sense because in interest of time, it's about to be 9. So far, what we have done, right? If you can do this much, and it doesn't have to be, don't do JetBlue, don't make a mistake. Let's stick to our test application, because you see you're dealing now with iframe, which is gonna be lengthy and you're gonna end up wasting time. So when you do and follow these steps, please follow the website that we are used to and just write your test that way. By that time, by now, we would already wrote 2 test cases if we didn't have this iframe situation. So I want to leave some time for Q&A questions and try to take some feedback from you guys in terms of where we are. Obviously, the other subjects are being done now, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right things for you and make sure that nobody's overwhelmed. And if you guys need extra time or anything like that, so far so good, right? So you guys think you guys can take it from here?
I still have that same problem I messaged you about before.
Okay, so let me
If I
take
could
a
just
look at
share my
that.
screen.
Yeah. All right, let me ask everybody before
Sure.
moving into
Yeah.
fixing those issues. Anybody here have any question about this framework? Everybody's good? At least up to this 2 line, if you did it, I'll be happy with. And then the next class, I'm gonna go a bit deeper, and then I would then suggest to start to automate that website, the auto. You can choose between auto and other websites within the test insurance website, and you can start to automate as many as you can. And that will help you toward your final for automation. So that way we can say, okay, you automated the entire application, right? And which gives you confidence and gives us confidence that you'll be able to do this type of work. All right, so that seems like everybody here gets it, and you will be able to handle this. But remember, if you come up to this 2 line and now you have problems, then I can still help. And also don't be afraid to take help from each other, right? So it doesn't have to be just us. If somebody is here who is already ahead of everybody else and you wanna help everybody else, just go ahead and post comments when they have questions. But also you guys can probably group sessions separately and try to get up to speed. Whatever we can at this point. And then also a lot of the Cucumber related and BDD related topics I will not be able to cover, and that's the reality. Because if I try to go into every single piece of small things at a time, we're not going to make it on time in terms of market and our times to go and look for a job. So that's why we have a course bought out. We actually have more than just one course in Udemy that we bought for you guys. And this is something right here. So this is one that has topic by topic. You can kind of follow and learn a little bit more. And this is another one. I wouldn't recommend this one. It's just big. It's just too big. Okay, I couldn't finish it myself, and I bought
Just
this
have a
like.
quick question.
Mhm.
Do we still have access for Udemy after the course finished? Like,
Yes,
when we
yes.
start our okay.
Yeah. So one of the thing is that the reason why I bought this course, right? Somebody joined the company and they said, okay, start writing a framework. So I said, okay, I can sit down with you every day, or I can just give you a framework and you can work on it, or we can do this the right way. Here is the course. I want you to go into the course every day when you work. I want you to watch, and you can watch it at work. That's not a problem. And I told him to start off the first week. You should be like done with the setup and everything. Follow this guy, and then you continue to give update in your team and say, hey, so yesterday I was working on setting up the environments and I did the project setup on Cucumber. I did the basics initially, and this is like just created a sample test. And now I'm gonna make the rest of the components of the Cucumber. Up next, what I want to do is that the background scenario, and then there are some tagging that I need to do. And that's what I will do next week, right? So each week, if knock down like 5, 6 until he's done with the whole course. At the same time, he also finished the framework because he's following this guy. And by the time that he finished, now he's ready to train his existing QA guys who doesn't know Cucumber or who doesn't know automation to begin with. Now he's going to be able to train them. Now, when he does the training, does he has to come up with the material himself? No, he can still go to this course material, and each course material does have either video or it does have resources. For example, right here, different things to download. Even like the interview questions are here too. You can see resources. You click on it and you can see that you can download the feature files directly from here. So basically, he was able to create the framework and write the tests, right? Imagine you join a company and they said, okay, do everything from scratch. You can panic, or you can come up with a plan. And the first 6 months, he did the learning himself and get paid, right? Which means one step at a time. And then later he trained them, and then later he started writing tests. And the company is patient. They will give you the time as long as you have some progress, you're making daily progress. That's the important thing. You don't want to pilot. You don't want to wait 6 months and later you want to say, oh no, I need to create a framework. I need to write tests and I can't, and I don't know how to do it. You need to be able to make some progress. This is just one example. There are countless or numbers of courses that we buy, and it's not because we want our students to come in and go ahead and learn. This is because someone somewhere somehow got a job and they need this help. And I said, okay, look, here's the deal. Let's do it the right way. Just learn it as you go, right? Learn it as you go. I can sit down, or we can basically find somebody to do it for you. We had a support team in India that their job was to just sit down a couple hours with students that are struggling, right? After getting a job. We don't do that anymore because, there is, instead of getting a live help, there is even better help, which is Udemy. But also sharing screen is not possible like before. So you can't even get help from India if you want to, or even any other country. There is I have a few guys that work for me in Egypt, and a lot of developers in Pakistan that I feel is really, really reliable. And Pakistan is like all the way up in terms of like reliability of their work, whether it's QA or developers. But anyway, so like this one, somebody got a job in Google. So I was like, okay, what do you recommend? How am I gonna do this? I'm like, all right, listen, if you got a job in Google, they will care about your algorithm and data structure. So learn that. This course was created for somebody who wants to work in Google, somebody who wants to work in Facebook, those giant companies where you get a huge sign-on bonus to begin with. So he became a full stack developer for Google through us, but he was an entry-level developer. So they hired him as an entry-level, and he started off with 120. Somebody who with an entry-level job. So the Google has the money to pay, so they will pay. All right, and similar to that, you got manual testing also. So if you feel like you're behind, you have let's see, somewhere here, manual testing. There you go, best QA. There is one manual testing course that is for lead. Like if you kind of lack that kind of talent and you joined and you became a lead or something, then you will you'll be able to watch that. And some of these courses I will make it mandatory. So you got a job, let's say you got an offer today. I'll sit down with you and I'll tell you exactly, I need this course to be done. I need this course to be done. And I will reset it to 0 to see the progress daily basis. And that is not to because like, oh, to give you a hard time, maybe it's time for you to celebrate because you got a job, but I will say, listen, I need the course to be done. It's because once you get a job, you'll come back with basic questions if you didn't prepare enough. And we don't want to deal with basic questions, right? I want to deal with complex where you get stuck. You tried this and you tried that and it didn't work. We want to deal with those complex questions so that way you can still keep your job. Mostly don't get intimidated by like job itself. It's I don't want to spoil the situation, but let me explain about this course. This is only 3 hours course and you learn anything and everything about manual testing, anything and everything that we'll cover, even more. And 3 hours, this guy covered everything. But the reason why I said I want to spoil you guys here is because when you get a job as a QA, you have a chance that you may have like work like an hour, 1 hour worth of work for the whole day, and that's it. You may have like small things to be done, and God forbid if you get a state or government job, then you have no work for like weeks, and you just have to just read or just find other things to do during work. But it is a little bit laid back in terms of QA jobs and opportunities. And the reason why it's laid back is because nobody likes to push and nobody wants to push QA guys, because if you get pushed, you make a mistake, and therefore, there will be problems. So that's one reason. The second reason is that you come up with so many scenarios and you'll have to test that, and they know that it may take some time in terms of testing. But QA do get a lot of time to do their work, and top of that, they don't just hire one QA. It's like, let's say 4 or 5 QA, and each of you guys get a single assignment for the day, which may take 2 hours if you drink coffee and concentrate. And what do you do the next 7 hours or 8 hours? Just open up Udemy and keep learning. That's it. Use that 8 hours some of the time. So if you get paid for 8 hours and then you only 2 hours, the 6 hours you spend for learning, when you get out of work, you'll feel like you don't need to do anything extra. You can now go about your days, take your family out, go and hang out with whatever relatives, families, or whatever you want. And you'll feel like that you are doing the right thing because you're studying. So that's the practice that you want to keep, because you're not gonna have to spend 8 hours every day. You will probably spend the 3 to 4 hours in meetings already, right? So then that leaves you with 5 5 hours left, right? Let's say 3 hours in average, you get meetings, right? Then you have 5 hours left for the day. In that 5 hours, you have 1 hour of work and you still have, 4 hours, or let's say 2 hours of work. Then you still have 3 hours left, which you can spend on Udemy to learn something that you don't know, or to concrete your knowledge and then become better, right? Once you get a job, there is 2 things that you want to make sure is that you will feel like you don't know much, always. You'll feel like every day there is a new thing. Every day they want you to do something new. The moment you feel comfortable about something, they will ask you to do something else, and now you feel uncomfortable. And that's the situation for the first 6 months to a year. You will feel this way, but that's perfectly normal. So that's when you need to talk to somebody who actually got a job just like this, so they can give you some, advice. Just relax, don't worry about it. Don't go and tell your manager, I'm sorry, I wanna leave. Somebody almost, he came and he said he's from the last batch, got a job in New Jersey Transit, and he has to go to the office like once or twice a day or something, twice a week. So he went to the office and he's like happy. Second day he texts me like, oh, everything's good, I'm working, and everything is good, not a problem. They gave me database and I'm fine with it and all that. And then the very next week he came, knocked in my door, and he's like, he wants to say sorry and everything. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I know I should have told you, but I quit. I'm like, what happened? Tell me what happened. I want to know everything. So he's like, I was in a meeting and my body froze. I couldn't get up, stand up or anything. And I'm talking about a guy, he's a pretty big size guy. He says his body froze and all that stuff. And he's always nervous for some reason. But his body froze and everything. And he's like, he was just fearful that, he was gonna get a heart attack or something. So he just left. He just left the same day, like half a day of work, and he left. And then he came home and texted manager saying, I'm not gonna work anymore. And that's it. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's fine. So it's always good to consult, because if he only told me about this, I would have said, okay, take 2 days, you can take day off, not a problem, and then calm down and just feel better and then go back to work. Or there's alternative solutions that he could have done. Maybe work from here, from my office a few days until you feel comfortable. But
Can I ask you a quick question on that?
yeah,
It just
go
came
ahead.
into my mind.
Yeah.
It just reminded me what you said earlier, like, there are some people who've been working in the company for so long, but they
Mhm.
still didn't know how to do coding. So my question is, how did they survive that long in the company, not to fire, to get fired?
They will not fire, because you're working for a company like, let's say 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And they will not fire because you don't know a specific technology that they didn't, that they weren't using to begin with, right? They will try to, and they still have valuable knowledge, which is product and the company knowledge, right? Which is subject matter expert knowledge. And they know exactly who to go to. They know how to, what to do on a situation like, testing manually and things like that. But like, I can name some companies, and I'm telling you because I used to be a roommate with these guys. It's surprising that there are many companies out there where these people don't know automation. And the reason they can't learn, one is that, let's say somebody comes to me and say, hey, I want to learn automation, but I'm working for like last 5 years. I'll tell them, don't join my class. And I'll tell them honestly, please don't join my class, because you'll lose your mind, because everybody else is going to go in a different speed than you are. And so people that try to learn automation and who's already working for 5 years, there is many blockers for them. One is that if they go into class like this, they will feel like they're wasting time. And then second is that their point of view is very unique, meaning they already seen things and they may have a different point of view, different way of working. So they may not agree, or they may not like some of the things that we would say. When we teach, we try to be neutral in terms of the process and tools and technology. And they might come and say, okay, no, this is not the way we do it, right? But either way, when you don't like something, you can't really learn it. So so that's one thing. The other thing is that, you know, you're making the same money. It's not like you're gonna get a raise, you know. And on the other hand, there are some people begin to acknowledge that they need to learn automation. So when you, let's say you're getting hired as the automation and you're the first automation person, and a manual tester is taking your interview saying, yes, we want all these things. Yes, you're, you know, whatever you're mentioning, yes, we want those. I just didn't have the opportunity to learn, but I would like to learn from you. So hopefully you're okay with some trainings and things like that. And you'll say, yeah, for sure, not a problem. You know, I did that in my past and whatever. And that's what, you know, and they will be open too. They will, and the managers will say, hey, these guys, they don't know automation, so try to help them and this and that. That's it. But there are a lot of people still, especially the bosses, that join early. I'm talking about back in 2011 to 2009, or whenever they joined, they didn't even have Selenium. When Selenium was non-existent, they got in. What happened to those people, right? It's not like they transited and learned Selenium because there was no need for them. They're in a management position. And let's say this guy lost a job for whatever reason, and he can't get a management position anymore. He will not get a automation position. He even will not get a manual position, because nowadays when they hire, they will at least want to see 10 to 20% automation in your resume. So that way, if they ever do automation, you are able to do some automation. All right,
So
with that said,
basically, after that course,
yeah.
there is a possibility that we could hire to do different thing, not just particular automation, but we should know
Yeah.
the automation because, you know, maybe, you know, they need us to do that. You know, that's what you mean?
Yes. Yeah, 60% of you guys, or 70%, I'm just giving a rough estimate, will be getting hired as a QA engineer, QA automation engineer, and then you're gonna land in a company and you're just literally reading the material and going into the web and testing, right? And they will say, yeah, we're not there yet. So we'll start. And then it's up to you to bring that up. But I wouldn't say like first job, go and start to bring automation day one. No, just take your time and just tell them like, yeah, it will take time. I don't want to just change something that is working already in this company all of a sudden, right? So, you know, let's take our time. Let me learn the product. Let me learn the process. Let me learn, you know, do the manual testing for now and help you guys to begin with. And then I'll get into automation, right? Or you may get a job where the lead came in and wrote some automated tests. He needs help to increase the test cases. So manual tester will supply you with manual test cases and you read it, understand it, and you just automate them. That's another scenario. This could be another, you know, position that you'll get. Or you will get a job where it's like, again, the lead wrote the automation framework. You already have a lot of tests. They only need you to fix the test and whenever it breaks. So you run the test. When they ask you, if the test is broken, you just fix them and that's it. Because you don't have to write new tests. It's just you maintaining the automated regression suite or smoke suite or system suite, whatever it is. So there is many, I don't know where you're gonna land. So that's why we have to give you also, after getting hired, we know exactly what you need. The 2 weeks that we will take from the company is crucial. So we'll not say we're gonna start tomorrow. It's gonna be 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks you get 8 hours worth of materials every day to study in order to be ready for work. All right, guys, so that's 9, and I hope everything that I said is going to help and put you guys back in track, and especially motivation wise. But just keep in mind, you know, motivation is very, very important to make it where we're trying to go at this point.
If you get a chance, can you take a look at my screen as well?
Sure. So let's look at the first. Who wanted to go first again?
That was me. I'll share right now.
One second. I'll ask you to share.
Okay.
Yeah, that way you don't have to give me access or nothing, automatically does it. Okay, did you get a request?
No.
Oh, okay, I think I sent it to the wrong person. One second. Go ahead.
Yep.
All right, cool.
All right, so I have the Cucumber here, feature file. I
Mhm.
even have the driver in over here in the same area. I created the
Mhm.
step definitions package.
Okay.
This is the code I wrote and everything.
Mhm.
And then whenever I do run it, it opens up Chrome and that's it. It doesn't do the next step.
Mhm.
Then this is what I see like pending scenario and it shows like my files.
Search for Apple laptop. Okay, pending scenarios. Okay, so go into that file, line number 4, feature file, Cucumber test, line number 4. Okay. Okay, something is wrong with your. Okay.
With my files, like internal, right?
Not the file, but it's a pending scenario, but it should tell you exactly what's pending. So let me see.
Mhm.
I'm trying to read out the. So Cucumber test feature, which is number 5, user goes to website. Okay. Do a control B from 5. Go into the line 5.
Control B.
Yeah. Or yeah,
Nothing's
Windows
happening.
B or something. It should.
Yeah, no,
There's a
Windows B Control
shortcut.
B. No, it's not working.
Yeah. No. Okay, it should work, but right click and then you will see the shortcut.
Find
Okay,
step
and then,
definition.
yeah.
Yeah,
Click
and
that.
when I would click that, nothing happens.
Yeah, but and that could be me, is that your step definition is not defined. So
Like it's
if you
not
go
glued
to
to
the
it.
step definition, it's not glued to it, but it's also not recognizing for some reason. It shouldn't be. Okay. Make sure it's the spelling and everything, uppercase, lowercase should be exactly same thing.
Of these things, right?
For the, when you go to your step definition.
Yeah, it's the
You see this? Yeah, okay. I see what happened. You got to put the regular expression. You're missing a regular expression here. Because user search on web page, you need to kind of say like, hey, I want this text, right? I want this plain English to be ignored, but then run the method underneath, right? So right front of the user, put upper error.
oh, the hat and the dollar sign at the end.
And the dollar sign, yeah.
Should I do that up for all of them real quick?
Yes. So that's why it's good to go with the suggestion that you get it, because it automatically gives you a template. So at least for the beginners, I rather you guys use the template instead of type it in. And
Should I try running it now?
yeah, go for it. Yeah, I think you're missing on some other places, but okay, let's see if you're missing them. All right, this is the new run.
Yeah.
Go back to the feature and run it one more time. And now if you run it, it should find. Okay, so let me take control for a second.
Yeah,
Okay, I
sure.
just want to test something real quick. So either goes to Google website, right? So I'm gonna write another step right here to see, just to see if you did. Given I go to Google. Oh, 1 second. What's happening? All right. I don't know why this happened, but Google site, for example, right? And oh, there's a delay. So when I type it here,
Oh,
it takes some time to get. Oh, no. Okay. Site. Okay. Okay, good. So now let's go and find you the strange thing is that your ID is missing some stuff. Probably
like the light
because
bulb and stuff that you get, right?
yeah. It's because it's not recognizing or it's not giving you proper recommendation. So
Yeah.
let me see. Oh, you're using Eclipse. Why'd you
Yeah.
tell me?
Oh, not bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always been
Okay.
using Eclipse.
Yeah. So All right. Recently, the person who came to me, and I gave you guys the story in the beginning. Let me, you know what, let me stop recording because this is gonna become too big for people to
Mhm.
later watch this, right? So okay, let me go ahead and stop recording.